Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee Chat. I'm Dr. Jane Ruby. On this beautiful, beautiful Friday. Wow. Let's see. 9th. We've got May 9th, almost halfway through May. Hope everyone's doing well. I want to talk about some issues that are happening right now, clarify some things, and tell you the truth about some other things. Got a great cup of coffee this morning. Cuban coffee. I love like Middle Eastern coffees, Cuban. They're very specifically rich. Anyway, it's my little coffee thing. So let's talk about the new Surgeon General nomination, which is Paula Casey Means. Kudos to Laura Loomer for digging up her real name and doing the vetting that Trump isn't doing. What I'd like to see Laura do is get to that point where she starts holding Trump accountable for the shitty picks, for the deep state, persistence in his administration and all that. She just stopped short. Oh, poor Trump. He's misguided. He's got bad advisors. He's being withheld from bullshit. He's the president of the United States. Come on. Maybe that worked the first time, but if he didn't learn from it, why would you want him in a second time, right? Okay. But kudos to her for really starting to get there. Why is everybody upset? Or at least why are a lot of people who you probably trust and revere, whose work you trust, including my own, why are so many people pointing out concern, complaining, negative about Casey Means' nomination? Okay, so for the basics, let's start with the basics. Apparently went to some kind of medical school in Oregon. Everybody keeps saying Stanford, Stanford, Stanford. That was her undergrad. Got to read past titles. Got to read past articles, right? That's what I always try to encourage all of you to do. You'll get a lot more information. Could be important. So she went to some medical school in Oregon, got her degree. So you have an MD degree. You're really not a physician until you get past your boards and get a license. Same thing with lawyers. They can do certain things, but they can't do everything. And they're not technically practicing law. They have a Juris Doctor degree, a law degree, but they didn't pass the bar, which is like the boards for law. Then they don't have essentially a license to practice. They have to be admitted to the bar. That's their language. Okay. So that's one problem. Never treated a patient, just like Robert Malone. Big Robert Malone, MD. Never treated a patient. That's why he tries to be cute and disparage me online for holding a stethoscope. A stethoscope signifies medical knowledge and information. It's not a big status symbol at all. Your nursing assistants, your medical assistants in labs and doctors' offices and all that use a stethoscope, oftentimes carry it on them because they check vital signs and in the course of their work. So nurses use them, phlebotomists use them, respiratory therapists use them. I happen to be a nurse practitioner, so I have a higher than nursing level of medical education, autonomy, and license to practice. It's a totally different license, by the way, from a registered nurse. Okay, nothing wrong with it, different degrees of practice. She apparently either didn't pass her boards or never took them. So if she didn't take her medical boards, she's never had a license, so you can assume that she's never treated a patient. It isn't like required somewhere in the documents or federal regulations or anything that somebody be an MD practicing or practicing physician to be Surgeon General of the United States. Technically a janitor could be nominated, but it says a lot if you are. It goes a long way in your understanding as someone who's going to be making recommendations and encouraging the country in certain medical directions. It certainly makes more sense if you have treated patients. I've treated many thousands of patients, not only in general, but in hospitals, in acute care settings, like intensive care units, step-down units, which are intensive care, lesser degree, but more so than a regular floor. Okay, it makes a difference. And I spent 15 years in hospital settings, healthcare, nursing homes, managing patient care, directly giving patient care. Okay, this is why people are concerned that she's never done that. I guess she wrote a book on healthy food, so they're trying to like obfuscate things a little bit. Oh, it's natural health. Don't you want her? No, you got somebody who never practiced, somebody who's trained in the allopathic pharma world of medicine, who now you want to say, because she wrote a book on, metabolic diseases and food. And by the way, speaking of that, I just watched the majority of a podcast, the Danny Jones podcast. Never heard of him, but that doesn't mean anything. Maybe he's never heard of me. Between Dr. Jack Kruse, who, in spite of the fact that he irritates me, I really like him. He called me a twat for asking a scientific question. And I, chastised him for it. And he wrote back and said, "Oh, yes, my twat." So he's a little sarcastic. But I like a lot of his information. I like the fact that he says that people who have anything to do with the mRNA shots should go to Gitmo. And the reason I'm pointing out that just a day or so ago, he did a podcast, the Danny Jones podcast, with Dr. Mary Bowden, and who hates me. She's part of the Malone sycophant group. And the two of them were debating Callie means. I don't know if that's his first name. We'll see what Laura Loomer comes up with on that one. Debating the brother, right? And the background of so I encourage you to watch that. It's great. You get to see Dr. Kruse just bashing this guy Callie Means, and the reason it's really fun is because Callie Means is sort of a classic textbook case of gaslighting. So when Dr. Kruse Jack Kruse is talking or asks him a question, Means says, Jack, listen. And it's like, and he says it 1,000 times because he's gaslighting. He's trying to dismiss him. Anyway, for the content, I highly recommend it. So these two characters, the brother and sister, Paula Callie Means, and Paula Casey Means, and Callie Means, they came out of nowhere. They had something to do with Kennedy. RFK Jr. worked around his campaign or something. They're like little fairies, okay? Dad was big CIA, WEF. They're all, and the spawn that comes out of parents that are World Economic Forum or Council on Foreign Relations, CIA. They funnel into the work of the parents. So to name her when there's so many other better, this is what Trump does. Trump loves trash. Trump loves to nominate people that are subverting the American people that are traitors to the American people that will not touch the mRNA. And that was another issue in that debate. Kruse is saying, I think anybody that had anything to do with the mRNA shots should be sent to Gitmo. The point being arrested, indicted, tried for treason. The entire Operation Warp Speed is a treasonous act against the people of the United States. There's no normalizing that. There's no softening it. So these two characters, the brother and sister, have been running, their own little operation, I'm sure directed to do so and paid to do so, maybe, to normalize. They helped create the Maha Psyop. I want you all to get solid in your minds right now. It's coming to you directly from Dr. Jane Ruby. Make America healthy again is not real. As long as you still have pharmaceutical companies pouring billions of dollars into government agencies, coercing doctors to prescribe, inducing is a better word, literally running our health agencies like NIH, CDC. There's so much money in there, okay? And as long as you have Pharma active, and as long as you have a DOD that is running in a mass genocide attack on health and life, on the people of the United States, you've got treason. You're living in an act of repetitive treason against all of us. So these people are trying to normalize, and she's trying to take us away from the mRNA shots. They're still in the childhood schedule. The people on the FDA committee to review the data that they don't have to do because it's covered under legal liability under the PrEP Act, but the FDA committee for new formulations is meeting May 22nd. And they're going to basically bet the farm on the fact that they will approve the next round. And since Bobby has been in position in HHS, he hasn't touched the childhood schedule. And I knew he wouldn't. I'm not surprised. You guys are surprised on social media. Can't believe he hasn't done it by now. Can't believe it. He told you he wasn't going to do it in his hearing. So these people being installed, just like the new Pope who was installed, yeah, another pro-mRNA, you get it, pedophile, priest protecting scumbag. These are installations, okay? These are intelligence assets, installations. And so the means people, a lot of people are bringing out evidence, history, information. Jack Cruz did that in that debate, that the means kids, Callie and Paula Casey means, are intelligence assets that are now brought to fruition. She got her little prize. She's the United States Surgeon General. The last few have been a joke anyway, to be honest with you. They've been mRNA pushers. She's not going to say anything against the mRNA shots, and neither is her brother, because they're in place to push it forward. You have a president, and I don't know how people still support Trump when he has blatantly come out and said the mRNA is still the greatest achievement of mankind, and he's going to bring you more. And he's going to bring you a more dangerous version with the self-replicating mRNA. And he's going to customize it for you with AI and Larry Ellison. And he's going to move $500 million of your taxpayer money to do it. So what this is with the means nomination is it's more of the same. And people they're getting their payback. They're getting their goodies. Okay? That's one of the reasons. And what they're going to be doing, you want to talk about more intense infiltration of the already useless Trump administration. It's 110 days or something in that neighborhood. He hasn't done this. He hasn't done that. Yeah, he's not going to. Keep waiting. Keep looking. I'm waiting for him to. He said he was going to do this, and some people say, well, he's done so many things. Yeah, he turned the Gulf of Mexico into the Gulf of America. That probably cost $100 million, changing over agencies and letterheads and all that. But let's clap for it like drunken seals. They're arresting Tesla vandals. That's important to the country, isn't it? So basically, it's more of the same. Now, let me clarify something that I talked a little bit about on Twitter, but I think I could give you more context in the coffee chat. And that is when Kennedy says, we're going to have data for you. We're going to have data on vaccines. Still doesn't say mRNA. Instead of saying, let's suspend it because we have somewhere in the range, depending on which organization and which tally you look at, 500 million deaths to about maybe 15 to 20 million deaths. And I say that's in the United States. If you use the Harvard Pilgrim study findings, less than 1% of all vaccine-related adverse events are reported to VAERS. That means in reality, you have a multiplier of 100. So if I'm taking that formula, then I'm going to say anywhere from 500,000 to 15 to 20 million Americans, babies, children, elderly, grandparents, have been murdered with the mRNA shots, military. So the thing you do, and those of us in the healthcare profession, those of us who have dealt with the FDA and Pharma, know that the regular process is to suspend it. We're going to recall, we're going to hold, we're going to stop all shots with mRNA, not just COVID, because you know it's in all other shots now. And you look at a lot of these companies, you look at their pipeline, you'll see hundreds of, it'll be a number, a couple of letters and a number in development. mRNA, 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 okay? But the way to do it is to suspend it. We're going to stop all shots, and then we're going to look into it. Then you know what, Bobby? You can take all the time you want. As long as Let's be real. When the economy crashes, Washington bails out Wall Street, not hardworking Americans like you and me. Over $4 trillion has already vanished from retirement accounts. And now, Jim Walker, the economist who predicted the 2008 crash, just warned, we'll be amazed if a recession can be avoided. And that kind of a recession, it could devastate your 401k or your IRA. And that's why thousands of Americans are turning to Augusta Precious Metals, moving part of their retirement savings into physical gold. Because gold isn't just an investment, it's protection. It doesn't go bankrupt, and it can't be hacked. And it doesn't vanish when the markets melt down. Go to goldwithjane.com or call Augusta at 888-836-1890 to get your free IRA 401k guide and learn how to protect what you've earned. Time you want, as long as babies aren't getting shot up every day. And when people say, well, it's the parents' fault. Look, parents are under pressure. When you're a young parent and you walk into a pediatrician's office and you want your baby safe and healthy, and that person says, you don't give this baby these shots, you're going to be responsible if they develop, X, Y, or Z and die. Young parents are like, oh my God, I don't want that. Oh, okay, doctor. You're the doctor. There's still a lot of that. That's why these people are prostitutes, these MDs. They're prostitutes. And yes, Dr. Krause is right. They should be at Gitmo. Because by now, if they don't know, they're incompetent. And they know because they're getting paid to do it. They know. Okay. So let me tell you why Bobby's lying, and he knows he's lying. Remember, he wrote The Real Anthony Fauci. If you have any idea what that book is about, if you've read any chapters in that book, you understand that Bobby understands the pharmaceutical drug development process, of which I'm an expert, one of the few in the health freedom movement, directly in pharma, medical side of pharma, not commercial, wasn't a rep, on the medical side, working with universities and physician researchers. It's different than a plain physician, but physician researchers also prescribe, but smaller numbers. So we could talk to them about research. Okay. So he knows from reporting on all of that stuff and those relationships and all that, and the relationship of research to NIH, which is many institutes, by the way. It's called the National Institutes, plural, of Health, not just one. He knows the process. He knows the drug development process. He knows that the average development for a new entity, a new molecule, it's got to go through animal and petri dish, proof of concept and safety in animals. Then if you get approved with that box of data, the FDA allows you to go into humans. And the humans starts phase 1, just a few healthy people get exposed to the entity, make sure that there isn't a serious issue. Then you go into phase 2A and B, and those are phases where you use larger numbers of people and then larger numbers of people with more complex illnesses, different subpopulations. And then you go into phase 3, which is your biggest big, final random, and they're all randomized, placebo-controlled, double-blind study. And you know, to get, you figure out the number of subjects you need in the study to get what's called an effect size, right? It could be 500, it could be 4,000. It depends on the statistical design of your study. Why do I tell you that? Because you got to have those numbers. And when you're going to run a study of, okay, we're going to do a 12-week study with 500 people, they don't all come in at once. They come in, and I've run these studies in a rotating fashion, 4th week, 5th week, 8th week, 12th week, and they have measurements, vital signs, check them for allergies or adverse events. Okay. So to run 500 or 5,000 or whatever it is, and that's dependent on the number of sites you have. More sites, you go faster. It's about 18 months to maybe 3, 4, 5 years. But the whole process to set it up, and you have to wait. You got to do phase 1 in humans first, because there's a lot of pharmacokinetics. In other words, how the drug treats the body, how it gets excreted and all that. And those results inform the design of the next phase. So you can't do them all at once. Can't squish it. Okay? Okay. Generally, 10, 12, 15 years to run from the petri dish in animals all the way up to the final package of safety and efficacy data that goes to the agency, the FDA. Now you know why those of us with pharma experience understand that it's absolutely ridiculous for anyone to say, like Trump, I shortened it to 3 months. The FDA didn't like me. Yeah, because they knew you were going to kill people. Because they knew that there's no way to get any indication of safety, any measurement of safety, much less efficacy, in 3 months. That's basically no study at all. And it wasn't. And then later on, Pfizer said, well, we were told we didn't have to do that because it was a military prototype. Or it's emergency use authorization. 5 years later, we're still in an emergency. Okay. And that's why Bobby's lying about having data for you. New data on vaccines and their safety and efficacy on what? I don't know. His safe space is autism. It's his safe place where he can put his thumb in his mouth and, and be comfy, cozy. And he doesn't have to talk about mRNA. I don't even think you could do a meta-analysis with using a computer, which would run everything fast. Maybe you could, in 3 months. Got to get materials together. Still got to run it by human subjects. Oh, I forgot. We don't use human subjects review that came out of the Nuremberg trials, where we have an independent board that has no interest in dog in the race of the study. Lawyers, medical people, average citizens, with people with consciences, with guidelines to keep the public safe. Those are the people that say you cannot experiment on pregnant women. You cannot experiment on infants. You cannot experiment on fetuses. You have to have a damn good reason, and it's got to be life or death. So he's lying. He's lying, and he knows he's lying. This is what pisses me off more than anything. He knows he's lying. So there's no way you could do, there's no trials. He's lying to you. And every human study must be registered with the government on the website for public view called clinicaltrials.gov. Clinical trials with an S at the end, .gov. And it's a pretty good search engine. You could put in Pfizer or mRNA or Pfizer, COVID, whatever. And you can see the protocol, you can see the number of sites, you can see the lead investigators, you can see, like I said, all the details of the protocol. How are you going to run this thing? How are you going to check for adverse events? What are you going to do in the case of an adverse event? There's nothing there. Hat tip to Sasha Latapova for her post, which I reposted. There's nothing there. They're not doing a study. A, they don't have to. B, they're not going to spend that money. And C, he's lying. It isn't physically possible to do that. So I thought it was important that you understand the truth about that, so that when you discuss it with people and they say, oh, no, Bobby said he's going to do the studies. We're going to have data in September. You can say, well, hold on a minute. Did you know that it takes $500 million and about 10 to 15 years to run a study on a new entity for safety and efficacy? And especially let's take the low end of the deaths for the mRNA shots. Let's just go with, and Dr. Mary Talley Bowden put out this number on the low end, and I think she's fairly in touch. On the low end is 500 million people dead. I think that's easy for the United States. You have 500,000 people dead, even if it is worldwide, shot from this one type of shot. You should be damn scared as the public about why nobody in this government is halting it. You should be frightened because it bodes of something much darker, much darker. Think about that for a moment. 500 million babies, children, moms, dads, human beings with real lives were murdered. Some within hours or days. Many more can't walk across the room at 20 years old without getting short of breath or having chest pain. Dead, a lot of them dead. And no one. A lot of people out here calling for it, to their credit, myself included, obviously. Nobody in this government, even with the new administration and cabinet, even with your little savior, Bobby, no one has stopped it. No one's even talking about stopping it. And how can you when on day 3, your Pied Piper Trump walks in with Larry Ellison of Oracle and Sam Parker and promises you more mRNA, gloriously tailor-made for you, just for you. We're going to get a blood sample. We're going to do a genome mapping for you, and then we're going to tailor it to you so we make sure we take you out. And that should scare you more than anything in the world. Wow. And all Kennedy's doing is damage control. He's got this little pit bull, Angela Stanton King. She's out there now. Why didn't Nicole call Bobby? Why didn't, Bobby's working hard. Give Bobby time. Girl, please. You're so transparent. How much money are you getting for that? So Maha, I want to end with this thought for this coffee chat. Maha is not real. It's like Grok. God, so many of you. Well, I checked with Grok. And I don't think that's true because I checked with Grok. Do you understand these are programmed? You think it came out of the ether? Some natural intelligence? You are the natural intelligence. You are the genius. You are the electricity and the light and the frequency. You don't need a machine that's been programmed by people who want you to think a certain way. I couldn't think of a more efficient way to drive narrative than Grok. Lazy American, just can't think for yourself? Can't think 2 or 3 steps? You got to go to a machine that's been programmed by God knows who and what? And don't forget, these things like Grok and Siri even, they are programmed with some stuff that resonates with you. They're sort of the poster children for digital controlled opposition. Remember controlled opposition? A lot of good stuff, and then weave in the stuff you really want them to, okay? That's controlled opposition. That's why people get confused. Well, she said she hates the shots, but then she said this other thing over here, and that confused me. Good. That's called discerning. It's programmed. And it's going to get more refined in the programming. so that your mentation is not going to be able to escape it. So stop it now. Do your own vetting while you still have other resources. Vetting on your own involves corroborating, finding multiple sources that back up their own sourcing, and so much more that I've talked about before. MAHA was created by the brother, Cali means for Kennedy, to deny the role of vaccines and mRNA specifically in this, they're all concerned about chronic illness. The pharmaceutical industry and the government has created, and the Rockefeller medicine created the chronic illness. Go back and look at your history. All the diseases of today, they didn't have 200, 300, 500 years ago. Yes, they might have had other issues, and they had some, bad sanitation and things like that. The world's not sterile and perfect. They didn't have anything like we have today. They cause chronic illness. They need long-term customers, and they need to kill some of you to save money. So Callie Means, and probably his sister, Paula, created MAHA. MAHA. Oh, MAHA. We're going to be MAHA. We're going to make America healthy again. No, you're not. It's a complete psychological operation, MAHA. It's to pat you on the head and to reassure you that something's being done. We're going to make America healthy again. We're going to make America healthy again. I hope you see through that. And anybody perpetrating MAHA is either dumbass ignorant, but there are fewer of those than there are nefarious operatives. And anybody who's supporting Paula Casey Means for U.S. Surgeon General, beware. It's a chorus. Beware. Because they're giving themselves away, and it's like a free giveaway for you to figure out who's who. You get a week or two of watching the chorus people, like Malone, who we already know. I think she's a great pick. I'm not talking about the average person who's just ignorant, in social media, who says, oh yeah, she's great because they're reading the party line, or they read an article, or they heard something that she said they liked, and they don't have the totality of everything. And there's proof that Laura Loomer put out last night, I thought was fantastic, that Paula Casey Means, your new U.S. Surgeon General, took the shots. So she's not going to, and I guess the mother, Jack Cruz, accused them of hiding the fact that their mother, who died of a turbo cancer a few months ago, I guess, took the shots. How do these people that are in the intelligence community take the shots? See, they've got them compartmentalized, so some of them took the shots, like Bongino. You think they'd be in the know. You think they'd have enough discernment to know that in the intelligence world, you can be duped. They took the shots. Okay, guys, have a blessed Friday. Making up for coffee chat from yesterday. I had a 2-hour incredible interview with Dane Wigington, which will be aired Monday and next Monday and next Wednesday, the 12th and the 14th, right here on Rumble, in a part 1 and part 2. It was so rich. I love that man. And then we're going to talk about tonight's show. We're going to talk about Dr. David Martin's recent interview with Shannon Joy on her show, where he showed receipts and evidence that there could be a plan in the intelligence community in the works for a July 4th poisoning or bioweapon attack on the part of our own government, which should be interesting. And maybe some of the things we can do to protect ourselves in general. Just saying, whatever we can do, we will do. So don't miss that tonight. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you for coffee chat one more time over the weekend. And I just hope you find the joy for yourself. Have a great day. Much love.
Wow.